Okay guys, welcome to another shop update. As you can see from the video, I've got the International back in the shop, and I'm just coming underneath it and got to reconfirm a measurement on the frame from the top of the bed rail to the bottom of the truck frame rails. Just confirming that measurement. And what I've got to do is some things. One of the things that I kind of forgot while I was doing this, not really forgot, but didn't get to it, was the U-bolts for holding the bed rail, the bed onto the frame rail, or securing it to the frame rail. Now I put these clips on it just to keep it from shifting from side to side, but got to have the U-bolts on it. So again, welcome to another shop update. We're going to get into a bunch of things, the truck, trailer, stuff like that. But as you can see, the International's back in the shop, and we'll bring it back in and discuss that also. So I just got my Ram in here. I'm going to throw it up on the lift, see if I can get that light fixed. I have this old fog light that came off my truck where the lens got broken, and I think the bulb is still good in it. I'm starting to think it's the bulb on that thing, but let me get that socket apart, and I'll find out what it is exactly. Could be a connection of some kind inside of the lamp. I know it's inside the lamp, because if I wiggle the wires going back into the lamp, it'll come on and off, or it used to come on and off. I can't get it to come on anymore. So, but I wiggled the wires outside of it, and it did nothing, where they're connected into kind of like a harness that I made for it. I also want to throw it up there. I've got a drip of oil coming out of it, and I have a feeling it's where I attached that oil pressure gauge sensor sending unit. So I'm going to check that out too while I've got it up on the lift. Yeah, I got my truck back out behind the shop, and as you can see, it's back on the charger again. It's been a couple of days since I put it back here and went to start it, and it won't crank over. There is a draw in the battery someplace. I've got to get some new batteries. I've got that trickle charger in there, but I don't have it hooked up yet. But there is a draw somewhere on it. And hopefully I'll be able to find it. But yeah, I'm gonna get it started up after it charges for half an hour or so. One of the other things that I just did is brought those chains. I had showed them to you in the shop, where I had lubricated them up and cleaned them up after I couldn't get them to work when I went down to Long Island. The other thing I did is shovel the snow off the trailer. I've got a small haul I've got to make in the morning. Some steel isn't going very far, but need to get that snow off of it before I do it. Just to show you, I got that light working. What it was is there's a clip inside the light that holds the bulb into the lens assembly, and that clip had just sprung out and was kind of laying in the back of it. So what happened is it didn't make the positive connection on it. So yeah, it's all fixed now. Okay, just as a little side note, this is the same day that I did film the intro, and I did get those U-bolts ordered. They are coming from a place called UBolt Direct. Now, I had done some research online and came up with this place is the place that I wanted to buy them from. Not as much as price, but they were had different variations of it, where you could paint it or not paint it, or you could get stainless steel, galvanized, whatever you wanted to do. I chose to get the standard ones for that I will paint. And I ordered them from them, and ironically, they had a message in there that says, call them before that you order if you were going to paint them. I called them, got this woman. She was very knowledgeable. She says, yeah, I put that on the website, but really you don't have to do it. They're going to come black and oiled, and you can paint them or have them galvanized if you want to have them galvanized by yourself. Whatever you want to do. And ironically, this company is in the state of New York too, albeit the farthest end from away from Buffalo you can get. It's in Plattsburgh, New York, which is up in not that far from Montreal area, but up in the upper part of New York State. But anyways, I've got them ordered, and she said that I probably have them the first part of next week, this being Friday, so she said it would probably be Tuesday, possibly Monday, but Tuesday more than likely. So I got three for each side, one in the front, one in the middle, and one in the back. They're 5/8, have a high tensile strength, U-bolts, nuts washers, and tie strap that goes over. Now, if I had thought about this before I ducked it, I would have been able to put these on over the top and the tie bolts and on the bottom. But what I'm going to do is bring them up from the bottom and put the tie bolts on the top with the nuts and washers, which might make for a better deal anyways. Kind of gets those nuts and washers threaded part of the rod up on top, and probably more out of the elements. But anyways, they're ordered. You know, so I kind of brought the International back in the shop today because there's a couple of things that, well, there's one thing that I want to get done on it. I still haven't received that plug for the trickle charger, but I want to take care of that wiring that goes down to the batteries from the trickle charger. As if you remember, I have to splice a piece into that wire to make it long enough. I wish I had the plug, and at the same time I would adapt that plug to it. But kind of the reason why I brought you over here is, you know, I've got to tell you, I'm really happy with the way this finish came out on this the bed of the truck. The water beads up so great. You know that I know that I'm not getting penetration into the wood, but yet because the wood was rough cut lumber, I've still got that rough texture on it so that it doesn't make it slippery. And I'm not patting myself on the back. It was kind of more of a just a shot in the dark that I came up with the right mixture on it. You know, I didn't know anything about wood preservatives and how to mix them and stuff like that. So that formula that I came up with using that Thompson's timber oil and spar varnish and tung oil mixture on top of the original finish for the rough sawn oak, which was again that Thompson's timber oil was the original finish, and then over that I put the that mixture of varnished tung oil and the timber oil as that finish. But again, it beads up real good. Now I know it's a friggin' truck and it's going to be used to haul shit, so this wood's going to get torn up, it's going to get marred, it's going to get beat up, and that finish won't last. But so far I'm happy with it. The other reason that I've got the truck in here also is I have an issue with the batteries starting the truck, and more predominant in cold weather, but again, I have an issue with the battery starting the truck if I leave it parked for more than a day, let's say in the winter time. It won't crank over. I'll either have to jump it, or if it's out behind the shop, I can put the charger on it. That's why I'm putting a trickle charger in the thing. But one of the things that I do not have a meter to test the amps. You could put a voltmeter on it and see that the batteries have 12 volts or probably 14 volts or 13, whatever voltage is in the battery. You can do that, but it really doesn't tell you how much amperage is left in the batteries for cranking. And I don't have a meter to test it. What I do suspect, though, is because the batteries do hold up for a couple of days, I have a tendency of thinking it's not as much the battery cranking power as it is a parasitic draw someplace. And I've kind of done a little research figuring out how to do that parasitic draw test by hooking a meter up to the battery. Now you can hook it up to disconnect either the positive terminal and hook it up that way, and do a parasitic draw test on it by putting one lead in against the positive terminal and one lead against the disconnected cable terminal, and measure the milliamp draw, or what is showing it for milliamps between the two when nothing is on. And so it should be reading in milliamps, not amperage. So if it is reading higher than milliamps, what you start doing is going through and pulling fuses out that supplies the power to different things, and see if you can find it that way. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Now, when I originally started this conversation, I said something about some people say pull the positive. Other people are saying pull the negative battery cable off and do it negatively, because if you do it on the positive side, there's a possibility you could short circuit something out. But anyways, regardless of the point, I'm going to try it on the negative side just to be safe than sorry. But I'll show it to you as I'm doing it and see if we come up with anything that way. Or if there is no parasitic draw, then it's probably the batteries. But this is a good way to check to see, without having that tester, to check cranking amps out of the batteries. If there's a parasitic draw, then you know that that's an issue. Not saying that you couldn't have depleted batteries to begin with, but I'll bring you back and show you as I'm doing that parasitic draw test. I've got two pairs of like lemon pliers, wire cutting pliers, crimping pliers for electrical. The first pair is a Mac, and I love them, but the problem is one-handed you can only get them open so far. Like if you're trying to crimp an electrical connection, they didn't really open far enough to be able to get it around it doing it one-handed. Now you could always do something else. I mean, usually you're holding the wire with a crimp connection in one hand, and you need to kind of one-hand it open to be able to get it around there to crimp it with the other hand. I mean, you could always like put it against your knee and open it up, but then it was kind of difficult to get it to close up and hold it steady so that you could get the crimp connection into the slots. So I like the pliers, just didn't like the way they open. Was at Home Depot or Lowe's one time and saw these pliers, and they open wide, and they're fairly easy to maneuver, so you can do it like gripping it up towards the head, and still be able to do it and hold it pretty steady. So I bought these. Only downfall of these pliers were these handles were extremely slippery, and that they wanted to almost slip out of your hands. So what I did is took some 80 grit paper and just sanded that plastic off on the handles so that it's easier to grip. One of the things that I noticed when I brought these pliers over here to kind of show you, these heads of these pliers look strikingly the same. I mean, the crimping part of it is different, but the plier handles where they attach to the other side look strikingly the same. The backside does too. The only difference is the crimp connection things in here. Anyways, just thought I'd show that to you. Just going to give you a little shot of this. It's going to be hard to see, but this 3/8 wire loom is the thing that holds that charger wire in there. I ran it down along with the battery cables just so that it never got near the exhaust, and then back up kind of behind the fuel tank coming up into here. Now this is a 110 volt cord, and I still don't have that plug for it yet, but as soon as I get that, I will take care of that also. So I just got back from the international dealer, and what I got is a cartridge for the air dryer, a filter cartridge for the air dryer. So I've got to tear that air dryer apart and put that filter cartridge in. But what I also picked up was a air filter for the engine too. Now, again, I went to International. They charged me $75.32 for the air filter. But here is the old air filter, which is basically the same, different color, but basically the same. Almost, actually, the plastic, everything looks almost identical. Maybe made by the same manufacturer, but the old air filter had this inner filter in it too. Now, I blew it out, and there doesn't appear to be, it flowed freely, and there was no dust or dirt residue coming out of it. So I'm going to stick it back in there, but problem with not having a parts book is, was this an aftermarket filter and it came in two pieces, whereas this filter it was only supposed to be a one piece. I'm not really sure. What I'm going to do is it fits in there nicely. But what I'm going to do is put it in there, leave it in there, and kind of do some research on it, see if it was supposed to be actually two pieces for it. The one thing, I had gotten a price a while ago, right after I had gotten the truck in, the air filter at Napa was $80 or $80+, and this was $75.32, so save $5 on it by going to International directly, which is kind of unusual. So just as an FYI, I kind of looked it up on the internet, and there are supposed to be two of them. This cone-shaped one is the inner filter. They're sold as separate items, so I guess you could replace them separately if you wanted to. Maybe the outer filter is more susceptible to going quicker, so you change the outer filter twice for every time you change the inner filter. But anyways, what I'll do is I'll call up International, or maybe even order it online. It's like $50 for that inner filter. But anyways, that's that. Okay, I'm over here at the back side of the welding bench, and what I've got is the air dryer out of the International on the up on the bench. It's kind of the only good place that I had to work on it. So I'm going to pull it apart, find out what's going on. Got a little water out of it when I broke the fittings apart, but I'll bring you back as I go along. Okay, this is the upper housing, the outer housing. And here is the inner housing. I've still got to get this thing cleaned, or the cartridge out of here. I'm not really sure how tight it's in there, but let me, I'll bring you back for it. Cartridge removal tool. So here are the three pieces laying there. It's like the old cartridge there, the housing, and the base. Yeah, what I'm going to do is going to go over to the parts washer and see if I can clean this all up. I'm probably going to try and remove that electronic sensor before I put it in the parts washer, though. But I'll bring you back. Okay, so I've got the air dryer back together, and I didn't show it. It's actually back on the truck. So this is where I assembled it, and let me take you out of the truck and I'll show it to you. Okay, you're back under the truck, and you can see it now. You can probably hear that noise in the background, and what that is the air leaking out through the hose, air leaking out through that what it was is the air leaking out through that fan clutch. I just fired it back up in the shop so that I could reset that valve. When I was under there showing you the air dryer on it, I started screwing with that valve because it was dripping water a little bit, and it started leaking out. Now why I did that is because when that air is bleeding out of the fan clutch, it's taking pressure off of that first tank, and there wasn't enough pressure there to reseat that water release valve on the tank. That valve is hooked to this hose, this pull cable, and maybe you might be able to see it when I do it. It just allows you to get any water out of that tank. But yeah, so there's one project done. I think I have to, they never actually charged me a core charge on this, but they said that there was a core charge on it when I took it, so I think they want it back. So maybe I'll, when I go down to pick up that other filter, the inner filter, which I am going to replace, I'll take that down and see. Well, I'm going to call them first and to find out, make sure that they have that inner filter. And then I'll talk to him about taking that back to him. Okay, I've got you over the table where the transmission is. This is a G56 transmission out of my old Ram. As you can see, it's still sitting on the table. That's because we still have not received the parts yet. Now, he ordered these parts New Year's Eve. Now, granted, they were probably off New Year's Eve, but what is this? This is like the 9th, I think, I'm filming this, and it's ridiculous that they haven't gotten here yet. He has been tracking them. They didn't ship them for a while, but he's expecting them Tuesday of next week. So just to let you guys know, this is still... we still got the thing here, and we will show you putting it back together again in a shop update. But just so you know, we still haven't gotten the parts. Yeah, thanks UPS, and I think one of the parts is coming in USPS, which could delay things even longer. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment.